Good evening, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So I'm going to do a different kind of video for you today. This isn't really about economics, but I came across a YouTube channel just a little bit ago and had a very interesting content to it. Very honest approach, done from the car, very much Uneducated Economist style, so I really like that. But the video was really from a very honest approach, like one that I haven't seen really done in quite some time, like very much Uneducated Economist style again. And what I liked about this video was that it covered a topic that I think a lot of people feel, but aren't willing to say. And that is not really like being a parent, right? Not having, like, the idea has crossed so many parents' mind. Like, was this worth it in their life? Now, they always say, yeah, it was worth it, right? But then they feel the guilt of, say, not being able to raise their kids the way that they wanted to, or maybe feel guilt of some of the ways or things that they had done while raising their kids. And they think back on those and they say to themselves, man, I wish I hadn't done that, or I wish I had done things differently. And so they don't like what had happened. And so they don't like the idea that they were a parent, like they wish they hadn't done it. And, and I think to myself, like, God, how could that be? Right. I listened to this video and I'm thinking, it's true. Right. It's so true. And as much as we all think that, or wish that, or hope that we are raising our kids the best that we possibly can, we all think that we could do better, right? We always think that. And when we look back at some of the things that we have done, then we know we could have done better, but we could have done better in all kinds of things. Not just the raising of kids, but done better in life in all kinds of ways. It's not just that. We just feel the guilt of it because there's this other human being that we were responsible for, and we don't feel that we dealt with that responsibility appropriately. And so I think about this. Like, I think about this video that Mindful Maven made, right? I left a link down in the description for you so you can go and check it out for yourself. She did a great job talking about this because of this honest approach that she gave to the topic. It's exactly what I would imagine just about all parents would feel. Is this same almost guilt-ridden, wish we had done better, didn't think we did it right, all that stuff. And out of some of the things that I've learned over the last few years since I started this YouTube channel and being a parent myself for 16 years now, is that having kids changes you, right? I was broke and in debt, and not doing well and drinking and all kinds of stuff. And I'm looking at, like, my family. I'm thinking, I have to raise this family. What am I doing? You keep going down this road and it's going to look really ugly. It's going to be really ugly when you're done here. And I knew I had to do something different, right? I knew it. I looked at these kids and I looked at the people around me and I was just like, man, if I was on my own, none of this and responsibility would be here. So you don't have that option, right? You have to take responsibility for yourself in a better fashion, for all your actions, everything you did, because these other people here, they don't have a choice, right? So I think about that. If I didn't have those kids in my life, who knows where I would be? Who knows what I'd be doing? Those kids, as much as the earlier years, probably don't even realize what suffering it was, because I don't think they necessarily felt any kind of depriving. I mean, I wasn't necessarily drinking around them. It was something that I had tried to give up and just wasn't doing very well when I finally did. I didn't have money. I couldn't take them anywhere. But we had a little hobby farm, and, we had the family unit there. We had some good neighbors, and I think about that. I don't think they realize how poor or how deprived, if that was even really the case, we were. I think that's just my guilty conscience. It's just all in my head, right? It's not reality. I mean, there was food. It was cold at times, but we had wood heat, the house was warm enough. It wasn't that bad. But in my mind, it was really bad. Like it was bad, you know? And so I think about like what it is that changed me into doing more in the way of chasing excellence to provide for a better life for my family, for myself even. And I think about that, like what did these kids really do? Right? They were just there. They didn't have any choice, They just, all of a sudden they're here in the world and they're like, hey, I'm here. What? Now what? And I realized, man, these kids did more for me than anything I could ever have possibly done for myself. See, I started learning things that I didn't know before. Like learning how to really care about what it is that somebody else is not only feeling, but to also understand that I'm not necessarily responsible for it, but that I am here to support. And it was hard to understand that. I never knew it really before. You know, the things that I was learning from having these kids and realizing about myself and my past and what I'm going to have, what I need for my future, I realized, man, it's not just a lesson that I was learning. These kids are teachers. These kids are the greatest teachers I've ever had. Like, beyond anything that I've ever taught myself through reading of Cantillon's essay and speeches and anything that I ever learned in school. I never learned as much as what these kids have taught me. See, I'm realizing that everybody in your life is a teacher. For whatever reason that is your existence, the energy that you have put out, the actions that you have taken, have put people in your life who are every one of them is teaching you. I don't care if it's the homeless dude on the street who's asking you for money, or if it's somebody who's high status in your community who's talking how much you need to do business or whatever it is. Right? Those are lessons that they're teaching you. Right? It's weird to think when you wonder about how it is that these people are teaching you lessons and how it is that they are in your life for that reason, so that you can learn, so that you can be taught. And it's funny how some people say, yeah, well, I'm in this toxic relationship and I don't know how to get out of it. That's the lesson. You're repeating life, and lessons in life are repeated until learned. Right? You ain't learned it yet. That person's in your life so that you can figure out how it is that you can build the confidence within yourself, the self-esteem, the appreciation, the strength, the courage, and the belief. And once you have it, you'll leave, and that will be a learned lesson. And they taught you that. Her channel was good. That video, I don't know about her channel, but that video was good. Right? I encourage you guys to go check it out. It's the most popular one. She put it out like 10 days ago, and it's got like 2,000 views. For somebody who only has 100, YouTube subscribers, that's a pretty good view. That's a pretty good view channel. And I would love to see the viewers of this channel head on over there and give that video a view, maybe a thumbs up, give her a subscription. Let her know what you think about the idea that we didn't like being parents, but it's not the idea that we didn't like being parents. I just don't think we necessarily liked the lessons that we were learning, but I think we really loved our teachers. Yeah. I mean, I even think back to some of the grade school teachers that I have, and some of the ones that I disliked the most at the time are the ones that I remember. Isn't that funny? It's the ones that I remember the most. It's the ones that I remember in the class the most. It was the ones that I struggled the most with. And it seems like those were the ones that I remember, or that I feel like the life lessons or the lessons that I learned from that were the ones that I most used in life. All right. So this is important to think about, because, you know, everything is about the way that you give the meaning to it, right? You can give meaning to it saying, hey, I was a horrible parent and I didn't provide well for him and I was drunk and, you know, sometimes I just, you know, didn't give him the attention, or maybe even worse, you know, abused him in somehow. I mean, it's like, I mean, I can't imagine, you know, trying to deal with that. But at the end of the day, it was still, you know, it was still a lesson to be learned. And you give it the meaning of that, then you will take away from it something more than a guilty conscience. You will take away from it your own lessons that you will appreciate and use. You have to think about it. Those kids are going to learn their own lessons. They grew up with the best that you could do at your time, right? I mean, you know, we're all operating at, you know, we're all doing the best at the level of consciousness that we are operating at. That's it. Like, you know, we can't do any better than what we're doing, right? And if you think that you can do better, then you should be doing better. Well, then guess what? You could be doing better, then go do better, right? You know that you should be doing better. There's pursuing excellence and there's pursuing pleasures. Right? And those kids probably taught you that, right? I mean, if you really think about it. So anyway, I think this was a really good topic, and I think she did a great job putting that video together. I think it was great, the honesty that came through with it. And, you know, this is really where I feel that a conversation based off of a video of something like that is really where, you know, a true conversation, one that really comes from the heart, a meaningful one, is found, right? It comes from that authenticity. Let's read through some of these comments and hear what we have to say. All right, UE. Hey, I know this is an odd one. It's not economics, is it? Evening. All right. This is an interesting video topic, not to minimize what UE is saying. Nope. Very interesting discussion today, topic. Thanks. Yeah, you bet. The thought that brings me a little sadness is the old saying, it takes a village. I say sadness because it seems every year people seem to behave in a your problem, it's not my problem mindset. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. You know, one of the things that I have learned in trying to learn and try to understand a little bit more, and this is really difficult because so many people are so possessive and so, like, you know, protective over their kids, that it's hard to be in a position in which that you feel like, hey, this, you know, this kid is part of the village. Like, you know, when father's not around, you give off the father energy in order for this kid to know that there is still a father presence here, right? And this is like where I think a lot of times, you know, especially in single families or, you know, single parent families, especially, you know, single moms. And I think I'm sorry, I didn't catch her name, but Mindful Maven had stated in her video that she had to be the mom and be the dad. And I cannot tell you how many times that I have heard a single mom say this, right? And I'm thinking, wow, right? Because if I was a single parent, I would never be the mom. I would only be the dad. And that's what's weird about this, is that they feel that they cannot be within their energy, within the polarity of being the feminine mother nurturing person. They also have to be a father figure as well. And this is what really kind of just it shocked me when I saw that, because I thought to myself, it was just like, if I was a single parent, I would never be the mother. Like I just don't even understand what that would be. I could only be the father, and I could only be the father as best as I could do it, and that's it, right? And so I think that's probably the case that you would find out of most men, right? And so it's just like such one of these odd differences that I think that happens to, I think, to be out there when it comes to a parent, and the differences between the male and the female when it comes to this kind of sort of feeling and energy that is put out there. All right, let's see here. True, some people have no business, busy kids have, oh, no business having kids. Example, mentally immature themselves. Terrific day in the market today. I didn't even really look. I just kind of watched the lumber market go down, but I didn't even look at the stock market. No, I've led wonderful life. I've traveled, seen a lot of wonderful world. Honestly, I would only fear for them these days. The teachers that were sticklers were the best because they cared. That's right. Yui in chat, what's up? Hey Larry, what's happening, man? Benny, boom. Hey Benny, so glad I finally made it live. Right on. Yeah, we're not really talking economics today, but it's still good. Time truly is the great equalizer, Simon. It really is. Howdy, Brody. Let's lock in for an evening chat. Yeah, maybe for a little while here, guys. We'll see how it goes. Some days I feel like I'm failing as a parent, but I keep showing up and try to give them the best and show them love. Listen, Big Hill, that's it. That's all you can do, man. I mean, that's it. That's all you can do, is show up every day and be there. Like, actually be there with your kids. Like, it doesn't take much. Put the cell phone down and listen to what they had to say. Like, even if it's something that just drives you crazy, but be there for them, be part of the events. My older kid, I'll be honest with you, he's not really into hanging out with me or doing anything. He's, teenage years. He sits in his room most of the time. He likes doing his art. He's pretty, introverted and just very quiet, and, kind of keeps to himself. And, he'll always go along with the family and stuff, but he's not exactly like, the family participator and wanting to do stuff with the family. He's just not into it. And I feel like a loss because of that. Like, I feel saddened, by this whole idea, because what really worries me about it is that Freddie's into it, right? Freddie's really down for it. He wants to go hang out. He wants to go do the stuff. He wants to be part of like everything that's going on, no matter what it is. Like, I don't care what it is. Like, I mean, you ask, hey, Freddie, you want it? His answer is yes. It doesn't even matter what it is, right? And I know that's going to go away someday, right? I know, like, one day it's going to be like, it's not going to happen as much, where he's not going to want to do stuff. And I'm going to be like, man, let's go do it. And I won't be able to get him to do it like he wants to right now. And I'm going to look back on that and I'm going to feel this, right? But it's the lessons in life. These are the lessons that we learn. And I guess, Mac taught me to be, a little bit more there for Freddie, right? It's a great lesson, Mac. I appreciate it, man, because I think Freddie appreciates that too. Yeah. All right, moving on. Stock market keeps on pumping, yeah. My sons are grown. I'm now unpaid advisor. Yeah, right. I was being both parent roles for years until she left. Come for the lumber, stay for the life coaching. Thanks, man. All right, well said, Simon. So true, Uneducated Economist. Thank you, man. I strongly encourage anyone who enjoys these videos to join in the channel for $1. I think Simon provides incredible value for that. Thank you, Brody. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and I was gifted a membership for a month. Thank you. Yeah, Double A, there was one of the viewers, and I think that there was a second round of this or something, but Grand Roofing Incorporated, go check out his channel. He's got an awesome video that he shared with us, talking about Gresham's Law, and he has a copper penny sorting machine, so he'll spit the zinc one way and the copper's the other. It's an awesome little invention that he had done. But he gifted, I think, better than 150 people memberships to the channel. Like, he just went crazy and just loaded like everybody up in the chat that day with all kinds of memberships. Like, just went through it. We have the membership now up to 826 members who have now joined the channel or have been gifted a membership to the channel. So I hope you stick around if you were gifted a membership. I hope that the membership is valuable enough for you to consider keeping the membership going for the continued months, because we will continue to break down these monetary speeches. We will continue to explain the Fed policy and how this thing operates in a way that they communicate to the other central bankers, but in a way that we can understand it, so that we can have a conversation about it, so that we can internalize this information. It's some of the best, like, I mean, some of the comments that I have are some of the best that you could imagine. Like, they are, I mean, I get comments from people who are like, man, I came to just kind of figure out what was going on with lumber, but now you have taught me so much about macroeconomics that it's far beyond anything that they had ever dreamed that they would even understand, right? And it was just literally just by watching the videos and participating in some of the chats. So it's incredible, incredibly valuable. For $1 a month, you'll have access to all the membership only videos. So you'll be able to go back and watch all those past videos that we did breaking down those speeches, so that you can be caught up to the same level that we are at in understanding where the current Fed policy is. And you'll have access to continued Fed speeches that we break down in those member only live streams. So, yeah, thank you very much for all that. All right. Let's see here. Thank you, Simon. My son will be 2 months old on Friday. Man, it's happening quick, isn't it? Simon usually will gift free memberships. I haven't gifted any free memberships. I haven't given away any t-shirts, although that's a great idea. But anyway, so yeah, please go join the channel. Let's see here. Yeah, and your kid goes so fast, man. It is so fast. It's gonna be like a year's gonna go by, and you're gonna like watch, like, the year is gonna take forever because you're so excited about the year coming. But then once it's there, you're gonna be like, oh man, that was fast. And then one day they're like 5 years old, and you're like, whoa, man, they're 5, and then they're 10, and then they're almost gone, right? And it's just like, wow, man, I didn't do all the stuff. I didn't do nearly all the stuff. All right, I heard about the lumber prices were going to plummet, the snowball into more sawmills closing in the Pacific Northwest. Now, yeah, I do believe it. And I let me just kind of talk about lumber real quick, because I saw a bunch of people trying to predict where future prices are going to go. The future price ends for the July contract in, like, I don't know, 4 days. What is today? Today's Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. No, so it's got 2 more days, right? So it only has 2 more days, and then it's going to close, and then that's going to be the price. The September contract is much higher. It's at like 470 per thousand. It's coming down, but it is much higher than where the current July contract is at like 438, right? So people who are looking at this July contract thinking that they're going to see lumber prices continue to drop into like 250 or something like that. No, it's not. It's going to end here on Monday. It's going to be somewhere around, 430 or whatever it's going to be. And then the September contract will kick in, and it's at like 470. So no, we're not looking at 200 per thousand in the futures for this July or any, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but that price prediction basing off of the July chart, the July futures contract chart, cannot possibly predict a 250 price, because it would have to happen in the next 2 days, right? Otherwise, you have to be looking at the September chart, which is much higher than the July chart is. These contracts every 2 months. Every other month they close. All right. Somebody gift Benny the job a membership. All right. Seriously, my NASDAQ ETF are up 50% last year and up 20% so far this year. This is insane. I got my membership right on. Some kids will bump and bruise, others will dope and cook, but it's always a great experience. I don't even acknowledge people without a membership. Benny, you better get membered up, man. Oh, wait a minute, that sounded weird. All right, you better go get a membership. All right. I had a kid yesterday. 2 years ago, we got a steak dinner at the hospital, and now they don't feed the dads. Yeah, I remember getting a steak dinner too. I remember that. Yeah, that's weird, huh? They don't do that anymore? So break out of the routine and do fun stuff with your family. That's right. I mean, it's hard. You have to think, like, it's not just a matter of the routine. It was also a matter of, like, just simply not being able to afford, right? Like, I mean, you can't afford, like, a car to even go anywhere. You can't, do anything. It's like you put into a mindset that you're limited, like this limitation, okay? And that's where the scarcity mindset comes in as opposed to the abundance mindset. And it's hard to shift out of that. Like, it literally is very difficult to think in an abundance mindset. It's kind of funny, like sometimes you don't even realize that you have an abundance mindset, even though, like, in a lot of ways you have a scarcity mindset, but then you might have something that you have an abundance mindset about and don't even realize. You think there's nothing in my life that's abundant, right? and and people will say that, right? But then they don't realize that if they just looked at it, then they do have things in their life that is abundant that they just don't even realize that were there, right? One of the things that I think about was, like, even myself with this channel and the subscriber base, right? I have 141,000 subscribers on this channel. To me, I don't think about that. I don't think about 141,000 subscribers and what that means. I don't even think about what 100,000 subscribers. I was pretty excited when it happened because it was kind of like a milestone, but I don't think about, like, what that would mean to me. Like, what would 141,000 subscribers, this would mean so much in my life. I don't have it. Like, I don't have that. Somebody else could have that, and they would say, no, you don't understand. You would be able to have all this ad revenue and do all this stuff and sponsorships and right? And they just go on and on and on, and they talk about it. That's the scarcity mindset, right? See, the abundance mindset is, I don't even think about it. I don't even think about it. I don't even think, like, what that would mean or what it would be. Like, if it went from, 141 down to 101, I would think, wow, what the hell happened here? And I would be shocked by the event, but I wouldn't give it meaning like, oh God, this is like, means so much to the existence of my life. I watched my channel purge literally thousands of subscribers, and I was just like, wow, I wonder how long this is gonna go on for. And I mean, at one point, I was just like, it did kind of hurt, and I'm like, man, am I ever gonna see, like, the subscriber growth again? But it didn't stop me from making videos. It didn't discourage me from what it is that I had going on in life. I didn't think about, like, what is it that I'm going to do if I don't get the thing to reverse around and I can't get subscribers again. I was just like, just kind of bummed that it was going the other way and didn't really think anything else about it, like, at all. Same thing with the ad revenue. It was just like, when I saw the ad revenue falling, I'm like, what did I do different? Like, what am I doing that is causing the ad revenue to fall on this channel? It was just like, so when I realized what it was that was creating a shortage of ad revenue on the channel, I'm like, well, hell, maybe I'll just do live streams instead, make it a little bit longer video and see if I can't get the ad revenue to come back up. And that was my whole goal, not to really, like, do anything else, is to make it go the other direction, right? Because I was watching it just kind of deplete every month, and I'm like, well, that's kind of sucks. What's going on here? So once I figured it out that it was, how to make it to go the other way, I was realizing, man, that was actually a benefit, because now I'm doing these live streams and engaging with the audience a lot more. And to me, this is a better video, right? I mean, all around, I think it actually improved the channel. So actually being hit with that was a benefit. It was actually a blessing. But I don't think about it like, you know, this is what it's going to mean to me when I get to 250,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers or something. And I don't think about, like, what my life would look like. I don't think about anything like that. What I think of is just like, how can I get the next video out, and am I going to build the channel or what? That's it. I found your channel from the live streams. Right on. Another failed drum channel? Right on, man. Well, thank you for being here. Watched your interview on Think Media. Yeah, just a guest. A lot of people have come to this channel from the Think Media video, from that interview, and I tell you, that was probably one of the best interviews that I have done, or been in. and pretty much the entire time. Like I believe like that video or that interview was a very impactful. It was very straightforward and it was honest. And I think Sean got a kick out of it. I know the crew that he had, like the mic crew and the camera crew and stuff like that. They all complimented. They said, "Man, that was like the best one we've done so far. Did a great job." And there was a lot of stuff that I had talked about. Like I went pretty deep into alcohol and talking about all that kind of stuff too. So like they edited quite a bit of it out, but even all the stuff that they left in there, I think was just top notch. It was really good stuff. Even George Gammon sent me an email complimenting me on that. He's like, "Dude, man, great interview with Think Media." So, God bless, brother. Yeah, you too, Vinny. All right, just hopped on. Thanks for the shout out. Hey, there she is, right on. Mindful Maven. So this is the person who inspired today's video. So thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it more than you know. It was a hard video. Yeah, it was. I could tell it was a hard video, and that's the reason why I came out here and made this video is because you inspired me, right? From that exact topic, because what you were talking about is not something that's too far off from what I think a lot of us parents feel. Like, and I don't know if we necessarily all feel it the same way, but the things that you were talking about, I know that I could relate to a lot of it, right? And and so let's go on here. I love my kids, but my situation was not ideal. Again, thank you. My heart felt this. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Mindful Maven, for making the video. And I thank everybody who's going to go and check out that video and give you a thumbs up and give you a subscription and let you know what they think of the video as well. So, we're going to get your channel, get some subs over there and, give it a little boost and see what happens. Some dudes get obsessed with subs and sell out quick. Respects to Simon. Yeah, like I was excited to get subs like in the early days, when I got hundreds of subs, I was like, whoa, I got a channel. There's 100 people who want to hear what I have to say. Wow. And it's more than just my mom and my my sister and my wife. Like it's like, actually people out there who want to hear this. And then it got to like 500 and I was super excited. I'm like, wow, this thing is actually growing. I have a product here. Like I have an actual product. And so I just kept pushing videos and then it got up to 1,000 and I was like, here we go, guys. This is it. I'm actually building a real legitimate YouTube channel, 1,000 subscribers. It got up to the 1,500, got the partnership for YouTube, got the ad revenue applied to it. And then boom, man, we're making a little bit of money. And I was super, super excited. I could go out and I could make like $1 or $2, maybe $3 off a video if it was really popular. I mean, hell, I was making like $100 a month and all I had to do was just come out here and make a video. And how easy was that? And I was engaging with these people and they're really enjoying the content and I'm learning so much stuff and I'm putting out a video and I'm trying to do one every day if I could and just like, see what happens. And it starts building up higher and I get it to 5,000 subscribers and I have some decent ad revenue coming in. It's beyond $100 a month. Now it's making like $300, $400, maybe $500 a month. And I'm thinking, geez, I'm going to actually have something here. I might be able to get myself out of debt. Like, I mean, like if I keep going like this, I could use this and eventually get myself out of debt. This would be so awesome if I could do that. And then one day I met George Gammon. Hey, it's like I gave him a shout out on my channel. It's like, guys, you guys got to check this dude out, man. He is super cool. He's got like this whiteboard video going on, and he's super intelligent. And he's like good at explaining stuff, and he has like 300 subscribers or something. So why don't you go give him a shot? Go give him a check it out, and go check him out. And George was taken back, and so he elevated. And then boom, next thing I know, I'm being invited to the Rebel Capitalist to go speak about the lumber industry. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here, right? I never cared about anything. I didn't care about any of it. I didn't. Like, I mean, I cared. I cared enough that I wanted to put a video out and be honest and that. Like, I cared about the content. But I didn't care about, I didn't care about making money. My whole goal was to earn $100. That's it. I wanted to earn $100 because that was the threshold that Google needed for you to pay you, right? And if you wanted to get paid, you need to have at least $100. So that was my goal, was to earn $100. When that happened, I'm like, I want to do that again, right? But that was my whole goal. I never had a goal outside of that for the channel, other than let's just make it grow. Let's just see what happens. Let's, just keep doing this. I didn't when when it came to doing interviews, like I was nervous to do interviews, but I wasn't so nervous that, I couldn't get out there and say, okay, man, I'm going to give you answers off the cuff. I don't need rehearsals. I don't need like to be like given a list of questions so I can rehearse the answers to give you an appropriate answer or something like that. Cause a lot of people wanted to do that. Right. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. Like I'm gonna give you, if I can't do this from inside, if I cannot just fire off the answers, then I shouldn't be doing this. Right. So we're gonna do it from the very beginning. One shot. I have one chance to answer this question. Right. And that's it. And that's all I'm gonna give myself ever. Right. And so when I did interviews, that's the way I dealt with it. And then when I started being the one conducting interviews, which I did for a while, when I would do an interview, when I would conduct an interview, I would tell them, we are not doing edits. So you got to bring your A game, right? I mean, I'm going to bring my A game. You got to bring your A game, because this is going to be a start and stop recorded video that gets uploaded, and we're not going to do anything else. And so, like, everybody was cool about that, right? Like all the big, like, George and Peter and all the other, like, those guys had no problems with it at all. A couple of the earlier interviews when I was getting some practice, they were a little bit scared about it, but really it was going for it without the worry of consequences that would come from it. I didn't have any worries of that. If I screwed it up, I screwed it up. That's that. Like, I mean, it was just like, I didn't, I don't think about the failure of what's going to happen. All I do is just think about what it is that I need to do in order to get the next video out, or get out there on stage, or to do the next thing. But I don't think about what the failure would look like. Right? I'm up on stage. I can't read my computer. I can't see it. I can't see the words on it. I'm trying to zoom it up. I can't zoom it up. I can't see it. And I'm like, I cannot do this presentation unless I can read this computer. And I'm up on stage in front of hundreds of people, and it's also being recorded, right? And I can't see my computer. I don't care. Oops. Hey guys, I can't see my computer right now. Like, I guess my blood pressure's up or something. I didn't say that, but I mean, I'm guessing my blood pressure was up. And so, dude, here, you want glasses? Perfect, man. Boom. Glasses go on. Continue on. I didn't think about the failure. I didn't think about the consequences of it. I didn't think about being up on stage being like, I was kind of nervous, but I didn't think about being embarrassed that I couldn't do anything. Like, none of that stuff was there. I didn't care, right? Like, literally my level, this is something that I'm learning over the years, is that your level of care is also a direct level of barrier that you put up, right? The more importance that you put on something, the more resistance you will build into it. So the more care, the more barrier, the more importance, the more resistance. Right? And this is what I've really found from this channel, is that the less I care and the more I just give what it is that I am feeling right out there. I just let the energy just flow, right? Just like talk about what it is that it is on topic, right? Are you talking about economics? Are you talking about Cantillon? Are you talking whatever? Just let it flow, right? Don't think about anything else. And that's it, right? Everything else takes care of business. The universe figures it all out for itself. You can't make that happen. You can try. You can try and manipulate the things out there, and you can kind of make a lot of things happen. But then again, what you will end up finding is that because you have manipulated, you will find resistance from other things, and then you will find consequences from that, right? So it's just better to just let it all go. Don't care, right? And what is it? They have a, what is it? Attention, intention, pay attention, like put attention to intention minus importance. All right, that's it. Easy. It's easy to do. You just got to figure out how to do it on a regular basis. That's the hard part, because nobody can, like, nobody realizes that's exactly opposite of what everybody is doing, right? Everybody is always putting importance on something, and then because they put the importance on it, they put this resistance, and then it becomes something that is a challenge, and it's harder, and it's ever like elusive to them, and they make it difficult, right? If they just didn't have any importance on it, then it just comes flowing in, right? 141,000 subscribers. I was excited to get 10. I was excited to get 10 subscribers, 100 subscribers. It was just like, at 141, there was no way in my wildest dreams that I even considered that this channel would ever get that far. Never. I didn't even think. I didn't think I was gonna get beyond 100. Right? I mean, I was super excited there. Again, I just didn't care. My level of care wasn't there. You know, the importance that I put on it was important to put a video out. That was the importance that I put, and that was hard, right? Because I put that importance on it, putting a video out every day, I struggled. Sometimes I would spend hours trying to get a video done, right? A 10-minute video, I would spend 3-4 hours trying to figure out what it was I was going to say. I would come out, I'd do the video. I didn't like it. I'd go back, I'd try it again, figure it out, maybe add some different things to it, come back out, do it again, watch it. Nope, that doesn't work, right? Putting all this importance, and it was resistance and resistance, resistance. It'd take hours and hours and hours to get a video out. And then finally, I was just like, you know what? One shot, one deal. Bam, let's do this. Now there's no resistance. It was gone. It just disappeared. Right? Now it's just easy, free flowing, no problems. Don't have to struggle. Hardly even have to try at it. Right? What I have to try at is to make sure that I'm getting good current information to try and see what it is that my theory is now, working into the macroeconomics world and stuff, and then try to relate that to a video that I put out there. But that's all working in my head. Right? That's all stuff that I'm doing on a regular basis, just sitting there watching TV with the family, watching, a movie or something like that. That stuff's working in the background. All right, this is a fun video, guys. I've been enjoying this one. So, all right, it's okay to care about your health, though. Yeah, it is okay. When I should put some it is okay to care about your health. Yeah, if you don't care about your health, then yeah, you're gonna. But then also, when you're chasing excellence, you're chasing health, right? If you're chasing health, you're chasing excellence. Like if you are consciously, it's just like, man, I can eat the Hershey's bar or I can eat the apple, right? I eat apple every single day. Every single day I eat an apple. There's not very rarely, you might find maybe a dozen days out of the year that I didn't eat an apple, but literally every single day. And I almost always have one ready, like all the time. And now I'm not saying that eating an apple every day is going to be healthy, but there's a little something to that, right? What I found from having an apple is that, right, you get older, you get tired at the end of the day. And especially if you're somebody who's high strung like I am, right? So at the end of the day, instead of drinking the coffee, which is going to be that much harder, you eat one of these and you're back to normal. You know that? It snaps you right back into place. That's all it was. It's just a little bit of sugar, some natural fruit flavor, get a little juice going through you. That's all it takes, and you're right back at it again. It's better than any rock star energy drink bullshit like that. All right? That's all it takes. This was one of these. And, talk about just dealing with your health. Like how many, coffee and rock stars and all that other stuff that people drink and just tearing themselves up. Right? But yet they could pretty much get something very similar of an effect. Yeah, it's not as good, right? Because I like getting jacked up too. But it's pretty similar. It's not too far off. All right, an apple a day keeps the bullshit away. Benny, it's $1 joint already. No, he's wanting to see what Benny. I finally figured it out. I clued in just a little bit ago, and I thought about it, and Benny's wanting me to pay for his membership. That's what's going on here. I figured that out. Take a chance. You want me to roll the dice, Deja Vu? Here we go. Oops. Hold on. Let me do that again. There we go. I think that was a better spin. All right. We'll see where they land. All right. Never had an energy drink. Good for you, Wayne. I would have to say, man, I love them energy drinks when I was roofing. Like, I would get up on a roof. You would drink one of those energy drinks about let's say about 10 o'clock or so. And, man, if you didn't stop, maybe stop to get something really quick, but you could go all the way till noon or all the way till 5, blast right through noon, go all the way till 5, and then feel like you could still keep going. Right? I love that. I made so much money, just drinking that rock star right there and just going for it. Man, I can't imagine what that must do to you, to the to the body over time. Like, especially if you're doing it every single day or even multiple times a day or something, Benny playing hard to get what he wants. Wants the playing hard to get. He wants the discount. There you go. Steak a day keeps the doctor away. Yeah, I have a few steaks in my freezer right now, so because you guys know I like them ribeyes. All right, lots of fruit in the blender with nuts and veggies. Good stuff. Right on, Wayne. That's the stuff right there, man. Simon woke up today and decided to be the mayor of Yappersville. Yeah, just about, huh? It's kind of feeling that way today. Gotta respect the hustle. Yeah. Thanks to whomever gifted me the membership the other day. I believe that was Grand, let me make sure, Grand Roof Incorporated. Awesome channel. Did a great job putting this machine together. Really technical. It's really cool looking. It's got a computer hooked up to it, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, it spits copper one way and zinc the other. And I think that's the guy who went around and just gifted literally 150 people memberships to the channel. So thank you. Go check out, take advantage of that membership. Go and watch all those member only videos. Internalize some of that information, and you will see that when you start going through some of the mainstream media topics or you're listening to interviews, you're going to be screaming Gresham's Law and Cantillon effect and, the average inflation rate over time, and you're going to have a bunch of ideas and understandings of what has taken place in the economy that is even better than what these economists out there, because most of them don't even know. I just don't get it. I'm still amazed by this, but whatever. But yeah, a guy sitting in a 99 Ford Explorer has figured it out better than just about everybody on mainstream media. Like anybody out there. If they're not, I got this bug flying right in front of me here. Move into the back of the car. There you go. But, when I think about it, it's just like I have nailed down so many things when it comes to monetary policy, when it comes to explaining how it is that they are functioning. When I see other economists out there trying to talk about a 2% target, talking about how they screwed up, talking about all this other stuff, they aren't explaining it in a way that I feel is most appropriate for you to make the best decisions for yourself. Because the communications that are coming from the Federal Reserve, going to the mainstream media through the propagandized information that they do, is part of the monetary policy. I don't know how else to explain that except for to just keep repeating it over and over again. The classical form of economics is what they use to convince everybody and use the main form of monetary policy, which is the credible threats. And the only way to learn this stuff is to go through those member-only videos. It's really the only way. And to be part of the membership and be part of the conversations that we have when we do these member-only videos. Once you have internalized it, you'll get it. You'll see it. You'll be like, man, you'll be like just everybody else who comments on it. It's just like, man, you've really opened my eyes in explaining this stuff. Just look at some of the commentary from some of these people. They'll just it's more than I even thought it was going to be. I was just trying to figure out a way to get a little extra revenue or something for the channel. I was like, oh, let's try this member-only things. It was so much better than I had ever hoped for. It was very, how do I put it? It actually gave it a spark in me. It was like, wow, this is it. This is what I want to push, right? This $1 a month membership. It's the cheapest membership you could ever possibly find out there. I did that on purpose, right? I went and I could have made it 5 or 10 or $100 or whatever I wanted to. And even if it was $5, I probably could have got a bunch of people to sign up for it on that even, right? But that's not the point of what I was trying to do. I was trying to find something in which that I could sell this information, right? I wanted to be able to sell it. I don't have a book. I don't have a course, right? All I have is me, and I have the opportunity to do a membership-only live stream for you. And we can break this stuff down so that you can understand it, and you don't have to pay thousands of dollars for it. You only have to pay $1 a month, right? It's $12 a year. It's $120 a decade for information that is going to stay with you for a lifetime. It is so worth it. And the reason why I say that is because I didn't even think it was going to be worth it when I started it. it's now coming to my attention on how valuable this really is. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, and it's only $1 a month, and that's what I love about it, is because I didn't try and go and make a bunch of money, because that's not my intention. I don't have that. I don't have that going on, right? I want to make money. I want to be able to have something for my family. But if I wanted to make money, I'd be doing sponsorships and making $10,000 a video. And I'm not doing that. That's not why I'm here. I'm here so I can do this. All right. And we just got a member, Sean Reagan. Thank you so much for joining the channel, man. All right. F. Obama, he is the reason why rent is higher. Okay, E. Thank you for the $1.99. I'm going to disagree with you on this one, all right, bud? And it's not because I think that you're wrong about the things that were happening during the Obama administration that would cause rents to go higher, right? There was a lot of activity happening into making homes more available for the people who couldn't afford them, right? And this started creating the separation between the rich and the poor, and I totally get that. But I also understand it that this was happening from way before Obama, right? And the things that were going on during the Obama administration were going to take place anyway. Now, whether they looked like they did, if it was somebody else, that might be questionable. Like, they might look a little differently, but the overall, generally speaking, the way that the economy is flowing through right now and the rents going higher cannot be blamed on any individual politician or even the political environment at all. It is straight up the Cantillon effect, right? And it's explained really well within the essay, right? Cantillon's essay on economic theory, this book right here, right? Go and read this. You don't even have to read the whole book, right? You only have to read 3 chapters out of the book to really get the understanding of it. Chapters 6, 7, and 8 of part 2. You don't even have to buy the book. You can go get it for free at the Mises Institute. So if you just want to take a little bit of understanding, just a little bit of understanding on why it is that the rents are as high as they are, right? And you want it broken down into a much, detailed explanation, take into consideration that this guy explains it from hundreds of years ago. There's no point in reinventing the wheel, all right? Now, granted, he was talking about horses and wagons, and we got very different conditions now with, the technology and the way things are going with airplanes and cell phones and all that other stuff. But the underlying economic force is still the same, right? And that separation between the rich and the poor and the abundance of money and the prices of rents and leases and all that is explained right here, right? So if you want to blame it on the Obama administration, then you would also have to take into consideration that there's somebody out there that you could vote for who could fix it. See, if Obama caused the problem, then you should be able to vote for somebody who can fix the problem. Here's the thing. You can't fix the problem because it wasn't their fault, right? Now, some of the things that they did was their fault, right? But the economic conditions in which that we are experiencing, with manufacturing leaving, separation between the rich and the poor, rents and leases going out of control, all that stuff, it's explained, right? And it has to do with economic forces that are beyond the political environment. And it's really important to understand that. But I really appreciate the $1.99. I'm not trying to contradict your thoughts or anything like that out there, because you probably have some very legitimate things on why Obama screwed this nation. And I agree, because I was very much on board with that thought, especially when I was pushing Ron Paul for presidency back in the day. Right, so I would have been very much on board, but I had to relook at my beliefs, because some of the things that I thought were going to play out didn't play out the way that I thought that they should have, and I had to reconsider some of the reasonings that I was taking in, right? That's where I came up with this channel, with this theories, with all this stuff, right? I mean, it was just like, I felt, here's the reason why I really started this channel. You want to know why? It's because I felt fooled. I felt fooled by every single silver and gold salesman. I felt fooled by the Libertarian Party. I felt fooled by anybody, like everything that you would have considered to be like the hardcore patriotic American, all that other stuff. I felt fooled by those things, right? This country didn't go that way. Why? This doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, we have a constitutional republic, do we not? What's going on here? Oh, right. This isn't a constitutional. This isn't anything like all these people are delusionally thinking, This presidency doesn't make any sense or reason or has any kind of... It's more important to follow the money. See, this is the thing that I found. See, I was very much into politics at one time in my life, right? Very much into it. And I lost it for it. I lost it for all government and all that. Like, I am as close to an anarchist as you're going to find. Like, I just don't care about government, right? I have very little belief that they are there for our benefit or that they can benefit our lives. I just don't do. I just don't. Now, a lot of other people have disagreements. They're like, whoa, what are you going to do if somebody comes in and decides that they're going to start doing all these horrible things to your family and only, okay, whatever, right? We're not in that situation. I'm not going to pretend what I'm going to do in case of some hypothetical whatever. I don't care about all that hypothetical things. The only thing I care about is what's going on right here and right now. And since I know there is no such thing as a constitutional republic inside of this country, I'm not going to pretend that there is. So I'm not going to vote for a president out there who's going to pretend that he's a constitutional abiding president. That's not right. All right? So I'm not going to pretend along with them. All right? So this is why I just follow the money. Once I understand that it's all about the money and that is more important to keep your eye on, and that all the rest of it is just political noise and keeping your mind occupied so that you don't actually focus in on the real thing, then that's what we're going to experience from it, right? All right, moving on. Larry Bird, $4.99. Simon, I heard you say you'd researched the New World Order earlier in your life. How deep down the rabbit hole did you go? Far enough. Far enough that it sent me into depression. I got rid of my cell phone. I didn't use debit cards. I didn't do anything. And I was just like, okay, I got my guns. Come on. Let's do this. That deep. Right? Like, I went deep. I went deep into it. It was just like, I don't think you understand. Like, you start going into that stuff. Like, I don't want to think about it. Like, I don't think about those things. I don't think about some of the things that I had researched and all the horridness that's going on out there. Like, I don't like thinking about it. And if you really truly understood it, then you wouldn't want to think about it either. Right? And what ends up happening is that if you do truly think about it in a way that you want to do something about it, you are going to find yourself incredibly activated, right? Or depressed, anxiety ridden, right? Now, I'm not trying to deny any of the stuff that's out there. All I'm saying is, what are you going to do about it? I couldn't find anything I could do about it. I turned off my phone. I bought into silver. I got out of all that stuff. You know what it did? It ruined me. It ruined me. I was in debt, depressed, horrible condition. I look back at my life and think about when I was in the depths of that study and that research, how horrible my life condition was in. Not worth it. It's not worth it. There's nothing you can do. Right? The best that you can do is to figure out how it is that you can participate for yourself in this economy in a way that is not reliant on them. Whatever they do is their business. I got my own business going on. Right? And that's where understanding that the ownership of silver and gold is so important. Having something outside of that third-party claim, something that you can protect for yourself. You know, it's not an envelope in the mail. It's not an app on the phone. It's not some office down the street. It's your physical possession. And there's nobody else out there who can hold it in the way that you can, right? Only you. This is important stuff. Like, I mean, it's a lot of times, a lot of people want to figure out like the answers. Like they want to be able to figure out how it is that we could solve the problem. Right? And I keep trying to reiterate it. There is no solving that problem. There is no solving the problem. The only thing that you can do is best position yourself. Because you got to understand how big that problem really is. It's like, you're not going to solve the problem. You're just not. it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be ugly, and it's worse. See, this is one of the things, like, people are like, man, like, privacy, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, it sucks. They look at every single thing. I don't care. I don't care. You got my bank account. You got all this stuff. I put out 1,000,000 hours worth of videos, right? There's no hiding. I give like, it's all there, right? But I do encrypted messages with my wife. I do end-to-end encrypted messages with my wife, because what I'm picking up on the way home from work at the grocery store is the business between me and my wife. It's nobody else's business. I don't need Google figuring out what to advertise to me. I don't need somebody considering that I'm some sort of terrorist or whatever because I'm using an encrypted app. All that stuff, I don't think about it, right? I have a phone. I do Google research. I do YouTube videos. I put all that out there. When I communicate with my wife, it's an end-to-end encrypted message, right? It's the only thing I protect. Everything else is out there. Like, I mean, there's nothing else I can do. So I don't try and stress it. I just live that life, just like that. All right, moving on down here. You're still dealing in the house of cards. We all are. You're just trying to minimize your suffering. Well, that's it. I mean, you're not... Like, that's just the thing. Like, if you try to get out of playing the game, you suffer a lot. Like, I mean, I don't know how people are going to do it. Like, unless you happen to be sitting on a pile of gold and Bitcoin or something like that, how the hell do you get out of the system? You know how hard it is to get out of the system? And then be, like, fairly successful with, like, stuff in houses and, like, things, like, like what normal, like, everyday people would have. It's not, I don't get it. I don't know how people do it. Right? Like, I looked at that life and I was just like, yeah, I can see how you can be like off the grid, living, all that other stuff. You're not gonna have shit in your life. That sucks. It sucked. That's what it did. That's what it did. It sucked. And I know, I lived it. I mean, it was like, whether it was just happened to be the condition of my mental being at the time, or if it happened to be the condition that I was living that caused my mental being, either way, it sucked. And this is awesome. So I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't like anything that's going on out there, but I can't beat it. So I'm going to do whatever it is that I can to best position myself to deal with this, right? Because there ain't no changing it. All right, moving on. All right, peace to you, UE. Thanks. Awesome, UE. How many ounces of silver do you own? I don't answer that question. I don't answer that question because I just don't know if that's necessarily appropriate to, put out there. So, what I try and tell people is, like, if they have none, if they have 0 ounces of silver in their life, set a goal of getting 100 ounces. Like, if you could set a goal of getting 100 ounces, I think that would be a nice position to be in for an individual person in case of end times. Like, I don't think that's going to make you rich. I don't think that's going to do anything for you in, like, any kind of, even if it went up to $100 an ounce, it's still, and it's only, $10,000 or whatever. So, it's not like $100 or 100 ounces of silver is going to be any kind of life-changing event, but I think that's a good place to be. Like, even if you didn't care about silver, having 100 ounces of silver is probably a pretty smart move. And then if you could do more than that, like if you're really good, then, 1,000 ounces of silver, get 1,000 ounces of silver for each member of the family, I'm 13 and own 6 entire ounces. Well, right on, clips of my life. I didn't realize you were only 13 years old. All right, brother. Well, thank you for the comment, and thank you for being here, man. I forget that we have the younger generation watching this channel. Well, dude, I'm really proud of you too, man. At 13 years old, to be taking on information about economics to the level that we discuss here on this channel, dude, kudos, man. Props. I mean, I have to give it to you, man. That's awesome. I wish that I had even a remote interest in economics when I was 13, let alone to be sitting on a channel like this or to be able to have a channel like this to be, hanging out and discussing economics with. So, dude, I'm glad to see you here, man. Clips of my life. I like it. All right, got 15-gram bar, I think. Following, been watching here and there. I'm 34 on the same views as you. I do need gold. I'm hoarding roughly 11,000 in crypto, but it's making me get gray hair with market manipulation. Well, that's the thing. Well, then you need to let it go, right? Let it go. Why are you getting the silver? What's the point of it? What's the point of the silver and the gold? Like, I mean, do you need it to do something in your life that you're really like, do you have a lot of importance on that? Like, if it does not go to $100 an ounce, is that going to be devastating to you? What if it goes down to $10 an ounce? Is that going to be devastating to you? Right? So it like you got to take into consideration, why is this thing important to you, man? Like, to me, I hold silver because I want something that's outside of that third party claim. That's important to me. Silver worked as an insurance policy when I had nothing. I had no car. I had no way of getting to work. I called my buddy up. I'm like, bro, will you trade that Tahoe that you have for sale for silver? And he says, yeah, you know it. And I said, will you drive it up here? And he says, be there in a few minutes. He came up with the title. I handed 165 ounces of silver to him. He handed me a signed title. I was up and running again on wheels. I will never forget that. That silver worked as an insurance policy. It's never worked as a hedge against inflation, right? I'm just now getting to the point that I think that my silver, like, I probably am. If I was to sell it today at spot price, I'd probably make a little bit of a profit. But for a while there, I would have been underwater, even at $30 an ounce, right? I would have been under what I had paid for because I had purchased so much of it back in 2010 and 11, when I thought for sure that we were going into a hyperinflation scenario due to the fact that we just ran through quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, and 4 and took the balance sheet from 850 billion to $4.5 trillion, which was a quadrupling of the money supply, far beyond more on a percentage basis than we experienced here with the doubling of the money supply or the doubling of the balance sheet. Okay. So I knew back then that dollar was done. It was done. There was no way that we were going to have the US dollar in existence in the next 5 to 10 years. It was out. So anyway, that was back in 2011. I was wrong, terribly, horribly wrong, as I watched my entire savings of everything that I had that I thought that I was putting in the right spot by buying into silver go to $13, $14 an ounce or something like that. That was devastating to me. That was during a time in my life where I was losing my house. I had no money. I had no savings, and the silver just now lost all its value, and I didn't have any. Like, if I sold it, I would have been out thousands of dollars. Right. This is the position that I was in. This is why I have such a love-hate relationship with silver. Right? See, all these people are like, "Oh, you gotta love silver, love it, love it, love it, love it." It's a blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "Yeah, screw that. I don't love silver. Like, I love silver, but I am never gonna marry silver. We're gonna date. Silver and I date. We might date all our lives, you know, but we're not gonna get married. That's all there is to it, because I've already played that game and I got burned bad by that. And years and years and years and years went by. If it wasn't for the fact that I used it as an insurance policy to buy my vehicle, buy that Tahoe that day, I probably would have, I would probably still be very, leery of the whole silver game, except that I see the real value that comes from that. See, I can sell silver. I could sell it all day long, right? I mean, I'm good at it. I can talk it up. I can brag it up, talk about all the different awesomeness about silver. But it's also really difficult to talk about all the horrible things that you have experienced with silver and then still tell people, I think it's a good idea to go out there and get it. Right? Because if you don't explain the bad times, then they're going to experience bad times. And if they experience bad times, they're going to be like, dude, you only told me there was going to ever be good times. Right? That's not the way it is. I don't care what it is you get into it. Right? And silver's no different about it. But why are you getting into it? Like, for me, it was an insurance policy. It can go up, down, or sideways right now. I can care less. It's not there for me to make money off of, so I don't really care where it goes. Right? But if it does go up to $1,000 an ounce, I'm going to be happy about that, right? Because I'm going to probably make some money. So if it does go there, cool. Expectations, pretty much none. And that makes it pretty easy for me. All right. What about gold? I think I look at gold and silver essentially as the same thing. Like, I mean, at least from the reasonings why I hold it, right? Now, I honestly think silver is a little bit better because it's probably going to be easier to unload, especially if you just need a small, like, I just need 20 bucks, man. You can go down with a 1 ounce silver coin right now. You hit the bars and you're probably going to unload that thing pretty quick, right? Especially if you're asking 20 bucks. Ask 25, you might have to work a little harder at it. You're looking for spot price, yeah, you probably have to work pretty hard at it. You want to get cash right now. Don't care about, getting spot price. Just need to get some gas in the car so I can get the hell out of Dodge. Boom, right? Drop a silver eagle on a bar, any busy bar, and you're going to find somebody who's probably going to give you 20 bucks for it, right? So even if you can't find it at the bar, go down to the coin store, go down to the pawn shop. All those guys would probably give you 20 bucks right now for silver eagle. And again, 20 bucks in the car, out you go. Your gas and going. All right, let's cruise. When it comes to investing, why is probably the most overlooked question people should ask themselves? Better to renter. Let's see here. Clips of my life. I keep it as a form of savings for the future because it's harder to spend. That's great idea, Clips, and that's exactly the reason why I started it too. That's exactly the reason why I bought the very first ounce of silver. It's because I was sitting on cash that was for my kid, essentially. And then when my kid was born, people would give us cash. I put it in an envelope, and they would say, hey, this is for the kid, buy diapers, formula, whatever you got. And I never spent any of it, right? And then, like, as I was going broke, I'm looking at this money. I'm like, oh, no, I got to do something with this or else I'm going to spend it, right? It's going to end up as house payments or something. And so that's exactly what I started doing because a buddy of mine suggested, he's like, have you ever thought about maybe buying silver for your kid? So I went down and started buying a couple of pieces, and then I just went nuts and just bought it all, right? And so that's exactly the same reason why I did it. If it goes to 1,000 an ounce, I'm going to be upset that I'm holding dollars. I mean, if you have no silver right now, you should be at least dollar cost averaging in. Just buy 1 ounce a month, I mean, just get in a little bit. I mean, shit, if you just do that for the next month and it goes to $1,000 an ounce, and it's at $30 an ounce, I mean, you could possibly spend what, maybe $400 to maybe make 12,000 if it goes to $1,000 an ounce. Not going to $1,000 an ounce, just saying that. But I mean, if you want to justify buying it right now, dollar cost average for the next year, and then how painful will $400 being spent feel? Like, I mean, if it stays around 30 an ounce. All right, great info, thank you. Nice gifting. Taran. Okay. Tahan, sorry. Are you ever going to feature work on your house, on your channel, you doing your own do-it-yourself stuff with supplies from your job? That would probably be a good idea. I just never did that because that was like not really the direction of the channel that I was going with. But I guess that would be good for the Everyday Napa channel because I do have another channel that I started a long time ago for like the farming thing that I was doing. And that would probably be a good channel for doing like home repairs and do-it-yourself stuff. So, yeah. Bring back meat bingo. Yeah, Miles. I'm having a hell of a time. There's some issues that I just can't seem to work around. That makes it difficult, and I don't want to make up just give you a bunch of excuses, but it's stuff that I'm just having a hard time understanding what it is that I need to do in order to change the way I do it in order to bring the meat bingo videos back, because ultimately it's the consumption of alcohol going on in the background and gambling, right? So these two things are taking place within the video in the background, and that's not, it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. So I can't do that. And it makes it difficult to have that going on in the background of a place that I'm trying to do a video at. Because then I can't do the video, right? So it's just like, how do I do this? How do I make this work? And it's very difficult to try and make it accepting for not only the ownership of the property, right, who's going to have the biggest issue with it all, but then also because of all the patrons who are the second biggest issue, which makes the first biggest issue the owners, So this is like, now I'm like, okay, wait a minute, this makes it hard, So it's not supposed to be hard, it's supposed to be easy and fun. All right. 100 is easily in the realm of possibilities. Yeah, absolutely it is. And that's why I say like dollar cost average. You know, if you just start dollar cost averaging, maybe pick up an ounce a week, or if you can't do that, an ounce a month, and just do it forever. Just do it from now on. Just don't stop ever doing it. And I guarantee you, you start getting a little bit of silver in your hand, you're gonna start finding, for whatever reason, and it's almost like magic, you will start finding that pieces of silver start coming from the most unlikely places. It's I don't know why it does it, but it just does, right? So you start giving yourself like the permission, right? Essentially to go and do some dollar cost averaging into silver. You start putting that out there and doing that, and you start acquiring some silver, and you'll start finding that silver just naturally wants to come to you. It's Again, it's part of this whole universal laws and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to be like some crystal gripping hippie dude who's like, dude, just wish for better thoughts, right? I'm not. It's not like that at all. It's literally the energies and the feelings that you are carrying. Go out there and attract the things in the universe that carry those same energies. It's just the way it works, and that's how I was able to build this channel. How I was able to meet George Gammon. How I was able to meet G. Edward Griffin and go all do all the stuff, right? It's literally by the energies and the things that you are feeling, right? That vibrations that you put out there. There are 3 standards of gold. It's hard right now to beat the 5% or more high yield saving accounts over something like silver and gold right now. Will, I totally agree. And that's why I don't look at those two things as the same thing. Like if you were saying, which one should I buy, gold or bonds? And I would be like, it's like apples and oranges, wouldn't you think? It's just like, that doesn't even, like, those two things aren't the same thing. So when I look at this, what you have offered is really, do you want an investment or do you want a speculation? That's really what it comes down to, because they're not the same, right? The gold is a complete speculation, sell it to the greater fool, hoping that prices are going to rise, that kind of thing going on. The bond has a return on yield, right? So, or it has the yield return. So which one is it? Like the gold's not going to give you any kind of return, right? You're just hoping that it goes up in price. Where the bond, it could go up in price some, but really you're buying it because of the 5% yield that it's giving you, right? So total investment, total speculation, not the same thing. Now, if you bought that bond thinking, well, it pays a pretty good yield, and if interest rates go down into the future, I could sell it, you might be speculating in the market as well. And if you take on that idea, it would be like, why in the world would I even have gold? Right? Because I could just buy the bond, it pays me a yield, and if interest rates go down, right, then I can sell the bond for a profit. If interest rates go up, it doesn't matter. I'm getting a 5% yield, which is what I was looking for anyway. Right? So again, it's just like, what is it that you need? And then at the end of it, you get paid back in worthless dollars, right? But gold, you could trade for something real, because it is real, right? Where the bond isn't real. It's just a guaranteed contract for more fiat, which is a guaranteed contract for promising to pay nothing. I mean, that's it. All right. Silver is almost a 30% increase in the last 12 months if I read the charts right. Yeah, but it's still like, what? I mean, what, 40% under its all-time high? Clips of my life, yes, but for inexplicable reasons, that's American Eagle is going to fetch more money. Won't buy them. I won't buy them. That's why I have Britannias. Huh. Good. I don't like that I'm vegan. You don't like that you're vegan? Well, why are you vegan then? Why? I mean, if you don't like it, why do it? Like, I don't understand that. Like, I went vegan for a while because I just wanted to see what it would be like to just not eat meat for a while and just try to live that life and just experience it and see what it was like. It's okay. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's just like I missed, eating ribeye. So it was just like, that's the one part that I didn't like about it, is that I missed, eating meat. Like, but all the rest of the stuff, yeah, man, pile it up, man. Let's eat it all. I'm good for it. I mean, I'll eat all that stuff. True, that's clips. I would like some kookaburra rounds in my collection. Yeah, and that's the fun thing about it is that after you start collecting, like once you get some silver eagles, once you get, a few generics under your belt, then you start getting into like the Philharmonics, you start getting into, all the different mints that are out there, get some Canadian maple leaves and stuff, and then your collection starts building up. Like I personally, I love the Mexican Libertads. Like, I mean, I love those things. Those are like awesome coins. So, me personally, I like buying silver eagles. I like buying government issued stuff. And it does carry a premium, but the reason why I buy government issue is because there's no question about what it is. Like you might get somebody who questions you in the future about whether or not it's a counterfeit or not. Eh, it's that's here nor there. Like I don't really think a whole lot of counterfeit silver comes out because it's just not really worthy of the effort it takes to try and create the counterfeit. Because really creating something that has that exact same size and weight is not exactly easy, right? And by doing it and only making like, $20 or $30 off of it isn't like counterfeiting a gold coin that you can make, $2,000 off of it or something like that. So silver counterfeits, although they're out there, I don't think they're nearly as prevalent as like, people should probably be concerned about. Although it is somewhat of a concern. Recognizing government issue is really when you go to like a pawn shop, a coin store, or anything else like that, you drop a government issue, there's no question. Like they're not questioning about the mint that it came from, like, with the purity or anything else. They look at it, they know what a silver eagle is. They know, okay, this is how much you get. It's very easy to identify, and that's the reason why I get into them. But with that same sense, I also get into generic too, because it's silver at the end of the day. There's no difference, right? Whether it's a generic or what's stamped on it doesn't make any difference at the end of the day. If it's silver, and that's that. All righty. What do we have here? Malk, $10. Thank you so much. Love the vids, man. Watch them on my way to work. Keep up the hustle. Well, thank you so much for the $10, man. I really appreciate you. Facebook Marketplace means it doesn't have to weigh the same. Huh. All right, I have kookaburra coins and I have resist taking off the case. Oh, good. Resist taking off the case, touching it because it's so shiny. Well, good for you, Clips. I love it, man. I'm loving that you're here. I know I want to play with the silver coins too. Like I want to look at them. That's why I went and got some of the generic ones. And so the ones that are in cases and stuff, I mean, does it really make any difference if you crack them out of the case? Probably not, unless you're getting them graded or something like that. Then, I mean, they're just keeping them in good condition. So, I mean, does it, like, if it's a really nice coin, it might deteriorate it, some. But that's why I go and get the generic. So I can carry them around, carry some in my pocket, shake them around like that because I just love to hear them. Like I got dimes. I shake the silver dimes and I do that with them. At the end of the day, an ounce of gold is 1 ounce of value. Doesn't matter if it's in the case or not. That's right. More likes than viewers. Yeah, we have 159 likes with 156 views. You guys are just nailing that like button. I'm loving it. Sweets bars are legitimately stamped with serial numbers to avoid discrepancies. Yeah, but even the stamp can be counterfeit, right? The whole thing. Like here's something like if you really want to know a good one is the Sunshine Mint, which I have toured the Sunshine Mint, by the way, which is a really awesome place, man. It was one of the coolest experiences that I had. They don't give a whole lot of tours of the Sunshine Mint, so getting the opportunity to go on tour or to go on a tour of the Mint was like not only very unique, but it's something that just like it's very rarely done. There was about 12 of us who went through this. It was like, literally he kept us in a group. He says, do not wander off, do not carry. Like we had to go through security that took, for the 12 people, it took almost 45 minutes to each individual person had to go individually through security, through identification, through like scan checks, through all this stuff before we could even go into the facility to where they were, doing all the minting and stuff. So they were very serious about it. Like they were not screwing around, security guards, all the stuff, big, huge doors, everything that you would expect. So we walk into the operating area, And it's just like what you would imagine. There is so much metal here. It is ungodly. So I'm looking at a pallet. Each pallet has 1,000-ounce bars, not 100-ounce bars. I'm talking 1,000-ounce bars. These giant bars. In fact, there's a picture of me holding one on the community page. If you just scroll back and you can look at it, that picture was taken inside that mint. But it's 1,000-ounce bars. So the pallets have anywhere from like, I don't know, 15 to 50 bars on each pallet, and there's hundreds of pallets, like hundreds and hundreds of pallets. And I mean, they're everywhere. There is silver all over this facility. It is just amazing on how much is there. When you think about silver shortages, when I see how much silver was in that room, I'm thinking that's hard to believe. I mean, I know it because I'm just looking at one tiny facility, and it's not tiny, it's actually huge, but I'm, considering the entire world, right? It's just one little spot. The amount of silver that I saw there it was just incredible. I can't even begin to think on how many millions of ounces that were laying there on the floor, not even in the production facility, like going through the actual distribution and of like the different types of minting that they were doing, and all the stuff, like even the purities that they do for each mint, because they make like the planchets for all these different types of government mints and different private mints out there. Sunshine Mint makes like everything. They like make it all. It's amazing. They even do all the way down to like these tokens. They had casino tokens and stuff. Like it was incredible. It was just so fun. Um, Oh, but that's what I was going to say. The Sunshine Mint has a identifier, right? So on the back of a bar or a coin, depending, you can see like it looks like almost like a satin etching, almost like a, I don't know, like that's the only way you can really kind of describe it. It looks like an etching, like the whole coin's shiny except for the circle in the middle of the coin, and it just looks like it's been etched. It's just kind of frosty looking. I don't know how else to describe it. But you can tell that, there's something going on there, right? You can see that it's just a little different. It's not just a matter of like, a kind of funny character of the coin. It's like, what's going on with this thing? Well, then you got a basically a code decoder, right? This little, it's literally like a clear plastic or glass screen that you hold over the coin. And that little etched spot comes up valid. It says valid right across there, right? So it's this special way that they're able to do this etching on there, and that if you use this special screen, you can tell whether or not the coin is valid. And from what I understand, there's no way of duplicating that little etching. It's their little, secret process, or however that works. But anyway, I thought that was really cool because then you can identify the coin, you can check if it's valid, like on the spot. Like you don't have to verify it with a serial number to make sure that it isn't duplicated or something like that somewhere else. This is like instantaneous. You can just take a look and see it's right there. Actually, I think I did a video on that a while back. So, like a long time ago. It was first year of the channel. What is the chances the Federal Reserve and the bank reserves aren't real metals? What is the chances that the Federal Reserve and the bank reserves aren't real metals? I'm not sure I understand that. So the Fed does hold gold basically in the basement vault of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Um, but I don't think that's fake. Are you thinking like maybe they got fake bars and they're just counting them as real bars? Because there was that story that Germany asked for some of their gold back, and when they got their gold, they cut it open. There was tungsten inside. They didn't get the same gold bars that they had shipped to the United States. They got gold that was melted down and reformed into new bars, and some of these bars were tungsten filled. And then like they tried to say like, oh no, it wasn't our doing. Like I kind of remember some story like this going down. So there is like fake gold bars out there, but whether or not like the Fed has fake gold, I don't know if it really makes any difference at this point, because like even the gold that they do have on hand isn't enough to back the money by anything. So, you know, I mean, is it fake? I guess it could be, but even if it wasn't, like Like, what are you gonna do? What difference does it make at this point? You know. The Federal Reserve doesn't actually have the metals. Well, I don't think it's their metal. It's held in custodian, right? The coupons for what is Fort Knox, and it only shows up on the balance sheet. How's summer treating you so far? Summer's treating me pretty good. I mean, I'm enjoying it. All right, it was the movie Money Heist. They had gold-plated copper instead of real gold. Bruh, come Australia, we're taking over. We're tanking over here. Oh. Yeah, I would imagine that the rest of the globe is probably going to feel some serious pain before the Federal Reserve actually does anything. Yeah, like I said, it was King Dollar coming to destroy the world. The rest of the globe is going to lower their interest rates, ease their monetary policy at the same time. The Federal Reserve stays still, causing the dollar to strengthen, and that King Dollar is going to destroy the dollar-denominated debts that are out there. Those people who have those dollar-denominated debts who owe on those are going to suffer big time from that. All right. How do countries trust each other with gold and silver metals? Is it a Mexican standoff? What is it? It's hard. Like, that's the reason why we don't actually do deals in gold and silver and precious metals on a global scale. One of them, nobody trusts each other enough really to do it because, well, you have to think, first of all, you have to store it, you have to transport it, secure it, all the stuff that goes along with it. Who pays the fee, me or you? Right? So all this added fee that goes into storage, security, transportation, all this other stuff, this starts creating the room for fraud, right? Because nobody wants to pay for that. They want the other person to pay for it. So now the other person is going to try to figure out how it is that they don't pay for that, right? And this is where the problems really start to come up because gold is kind of cumbersome and doesn't necessarily fulfill the roles of being a world reserve currency, providing enough currency for all the world to do all the transactions that they would ever want to do. Only fiat currency can do that, right? A lot of people will say that, cryptocurrencies and, okay, maybe on a lesser scale that could be a possibility, but that's not what is occurring today. What is occurring today is that the dollar is filling that role, providing the world with all the transactionable currency that they could ever use, all right? And to make sure that they constantly fulfill the demand for that liquidity, which is pretty hard for the Federal Reserve to do without driving the United States ever deeper into debt, which they are now on and have been on an unsustainable debt path. The debt is not unsustainable, the path is, and they keep reiterating this. This is why I believe that at some point the Federal Reserve will, whether it be sooner or later, I don't know, buy into foreign debt, right? Buy the debt of a foreign nation and put it on the balance sheet and issue out Federal Reserve notes. All right, what's going to happen to Japanese yen in those conditions? King dollar destroys everything. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know how other nations are going to end up reacting to those things. And I certainly don't know, how long or how bad that impact will be on the rest of the globe. Like, I mean, every nation is going to suffer from a strengthening dollar, but their suffering is going to depend on how weakening their currency is getting, right? So the dollar could strengthen and destroy currencies, or it could just stand still and the currencies can destroy themselves against the dollar. All right, Clips. I can back up the Australia comment. I come from Australia. Yeah, things are looking pretty ugly there, huh, guys? I mean, I see a lot of people talk about it, but because I'm so focused in on the United States and what it is that the Fed is doing, I just don't have enough time to go in and dive into these other nations to see exactly what's happening with their banking industries, their central banks, and all this other stuff. I'm sure they do communications that are not too far off from like what the Fed is doing, right? So, if somebody had the time, I'm sure you could dive in there and find the speeches from their central banks, the Australia central banker or whatever, central bankers, I should probably call them. All right. I'm watching how the Fed and the Treasury will handle the $63 billion in liquidated bonds. Well, I mean, you do see the Treasury has stepped up with bond buybacks, and the Federal Reserve has reduced the amount of quantitative tightening that they are doing, which is both providing more liquidity to the bond market. And then at that same time, by making those announcements and telling the market participants that the Treasury is going to be there buying bonds, and that reduction in the balance sheet has both brought in market participants, right? So even though you see like these nations selling off their bonds, I think between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve's actions, they are actually making up for a lot of that effort, or a lot of that action that they are going through, as far as the action of unloading the treasuries by these foreigners, right, by these foreign nations. What the Treasury and what the Fed is doing is offsetting that sum. All right. I know the Eurosphere is showing signs of recession, but I'm not sure exactly what's causing it. How can a currency destroy itself? Curious. Well, I mean, okay, so when you weaken a currency, that is destroying itself, right? So when the Fed is printing money, quantitative easing, that's essentially a currency destroying itself. Do too much of it, and it will become worthless. So as they go through the effort of trying to create a stimulating effect by lowering interest rates and providing the government with the ability to issue out a lot of debt, that debt issuance gives the Federal Reserve the ability to buy and then inject that money through the Treasury Department and their stimulating effects to get that money out there to the rest of the world, right? As they go through this process, it begins to destroy the currency as the dollars start to flood out there, right? Now, this is the same whether it's the Federal Reserve or any other nation that's out there. And now, what you might hear a lot of times from me is saying that the quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, and 4 failed to produce the inflationary scenario that the Federal Reserve was looking for. I don't find that to be the same as a strengthening or weakening dollar. Okay. Now, a lot of people will find argument inside of that statement, but you really have to consider that the weakening of the currency, which did take place during quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, and 4, failed to produce the inflationary scenario that the Federal Reserve was looking for. Why? Right? It's because understanding the importance of that dollar destruction quantitative easing that was happening was not necessarily creating the inflationary scenario that the Federal Reserve would be looking for. Right? So dollar destruction doesn't necessarily create the inflation. And I know there's going to be 700,000 people who would hear that and just totally argue with me on that. But again, those are the same people who would argue with it, who can't explain why 1, 2, 3, and 4 quantitative easing couldn't provide the inflationary scenario that the Fed was looking for. See, ultimately what happened was that most of that money ended up as reserves on the bank's balance sheet. And unless that money was lent into the system, it wasn't going to chase any goods and services. However, that money was lent into the system through the purchasing of real estate, through the purchasing of stocks, through the purchasing of bonds. When you start purchasing these things, what ends up happening is the asset price goes up real high in value, and the people who own those assets go like, I feel rich. That's the wealth effect. The wealth effect then starts spending money into the economy. Now, that's really ultimately how that system ended up going down, right? And because the people and the employment that was taking place wasn't what was causing the inflation through the added consumption, right? You didn't see it happening. You saw the asset prices go up, but you didn't see the added consumption through the increase of employment and all the excess money that they would get through that. They had to spend it on higher prices of homes, stuff. Economics is tough, right? It's tough stuff. The hardest part is knowing that there's all this stuff out there that you don't know, right? And it's difficult to take on a certain belief and then disassemble that belief so that you can actually bring in other beliefs, right? But you literally have to disassemble the one that you have. You have to say that this is not accurate for these reasons, right? And not just throw it away and just say, I'm just going to go with this faithfully and just know that it's, the way it is. That's not the way it goes down. Like, I look at quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, and 4. At the time, I knew with everything that I had learned from economics and understandings of everything, there was going to be a hyperinflation scenario. There's no way the dollar was going to continue to exist 5 to 10 years from now. I told people that at the time. I was wrong, completely wrong. Everything that I knew at the time was wrong. Now, a lot of the facts and a lot of the understandings that I had at the time were fairly accurate, but the way that I was given meaning behind it and the misunderstandings of how it is that the Federal Reserve truly operates their monetary policy, I had to change. I had to change everything about the way I believe, right? Because I was wrong. Once you're wrong, you have to admit it. I was wrong, right? Why? Why was I wrong? And so now I listen to other people, with their ideas. I've heard them. Like, people are like, oh, no, this thing. And, haven't you ever read The Creature from Jekyll Island? You would know all about how the Federal Reserve destroys the monetary policy, blah, 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 right? And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? I've read all that stuff. That was the same reasonings that I was giving back then on why I was wrong, right? Understanding that, like, yes, that's right, that's correct information, but no, that doesn't apply to the economy in the way that you are explaining it or giving meaning to it, right? And that's the hardest part, is like, once you understand that the beliefs that you had that was ended up being inaccurate, you have to tell yourself, okay, I was wrong. Why? you know like, same thing with buying this house. I was wrong. I thought once the interest rates, I got the house at a 3.125 interest rate. I thought for sure once we saw the interest rates rise significantly, this house price was going to plummet and I was going to be completely underwater. I thought that was going to be the case. I mentally prepared myself for that. I put 10% down on the house, not only because they required it, but because that was also a really good idea when you're buying a home, is to put as much down as you possibly can. Right? Even doing all that stuff, I still thought I was going to go underwater. Completely opposite. Did not go down. It went up, and it went up a lot. Right? So much so that even though it has dumped a ton of money off of the estimate high that it had peaked out at a year or whatever ago, man, a year and a half, I forget where it's still ridiculously high. Like, it went from like ungodly stupid, like, this is insane, this can't be real, there's a glitch in the system, to now it's just like, god damn, it's still high, right? It's not even close to what I had paid for it, and it's certainly not even near. Like, I mean, I have like $150,000 equity in this house. I did it in 2 years. It doesn't make any sense, right? That isn't reasonable. But that's what ended up happening. Totally opposite of what I thought, right? But once I started understanding what was taking place, right? Once I thought about it for a little bit and I realized that, okay, the reasonings why this housing market hasn't crashed or didn't come down is simply because of the lack of inventory. See, I was thinking interest rates are going to rise, people wouldn't be able to afford the house payment, then there would be no sales taking place, and therefore the housing prices would have to come down to meet the capabilities of the buyer. Totally makes sense. Like, it totally makes sense. Like, even people today would argue that. You'd probably find articles written saying something very similar to that today. Like, you'd find that to be but that's not what's happening. Right? See, the fact is that there is very little homes out there for sale, and so any one of them that comes up at any kind of reasonable price gets nabbed up right away. People are itching to buy homes. And now, if there was a ton of people who were building homes to try and take advantage of the high prices, we might see something taking place as far as new inventory or an excess of inventory. Not happening. Builders are not excited, even though lumber prices are coming down. People are not flipping their houses to get out of a 3.25% interest so that they could get into a 7.5 or 8. Right? Again, unless you see unemployment rising significantly. I don't know where all the foreclosures are going to bring inventory to the housing market. All this stuff that is now taking place, I didn't expect it to go down like that. But now that it is here, it's like, yeah, that makes sense, right? It does make sense why it's there. And so you have to change the way you believe about things. Then I look at it and I was like, you know what? I've been saying it this whole time, and now it makes even more sense. Interest rate adjustments don't impact the economy like they did. The classical form of understanding the Federal Reserve and interest rate adjustments doesn't impact the economy like it once had. The mortgage market is proof of that. The housing market is proof of that right now. Okay. People say, give it time. Okay. Yeah. It's been well over 2 years since I bought my house. I'm up $150,000 in equity on it. I don't see any reversal to that anywhere in my neighborhood because I don't see new homes coming up. Right. So, I mean, give it more time. Should I give it another couple of years? So I'll be 4 years into this real estate while everybody else is still waiting. Because that's what my plan was to wait. I'm going to wait with you, right? 4 years later, I mean, how much equity will I have in it then? I don't know. Maybe I won't have any, right? But I'll be 4 years into the buying of this house. How far will you be into it? This is how, I assure you guys, I was not wanting to buy this house when I did it. When I signed the bottom line, when I was signing the deal on it, I was like feeling like puking. Like I literally was just like, I'm sick to my stomach here. I don't want to do this. Right? This is not the time. This is not right. This is not going to work. All that anxiety, all that emotion, all that other stuff, completely inaccurate. Totally, didn't need to be unfounded. You know? All right. Bro, when were you busy trying to qualify for your house? Did your lender require you to have at least 6 credit cards and season money in order to fully qualify to get your mortgage? No, what happened is about 2 weeks before, not even 2 weeks, I think it was closer to like 10 days, right? Before we were supposed to sign the deal on the house, and my mortgage lender came to me and goes, bro, you have a foreclosure in your past. And I was just like, yeah, I told you about it. He says, yeah, but it didn't show up on your credit report. I don't know how the hell you did that, but it wasn't on your credit report. And I had a loan set up for you that I cannot get to you because you had a foreclosure in your past. And I'm like, well, what are we going to do? He says, I got to find you a new loan. He says, we got to figure this thing out, man. The house closes in this 2 weeks, man. And I don't have a loan for you. I don't have a loan, you know? And I'm like, dude, like I got thousands of dollars in escrow. All right. We got to get this loan down. Right. I mean, this is, again, the anxiety. You can go back and look at the videos I did on this one. So he comes to me and he was like, okay, bro, I found you a loan. What happened with the foreclosure? Why did you lose the house? Right. And I was just like, well, bad time in my life. I mean, everything was bad. Sarah got pregnant. She wasn't working, and he was like, oh, right there. He says, she was pregnant, birthed a kid, and then she didn't go back to work, and that's the reason why you lost it? I'm like, well, not really. He goes, that's the reason why you lost it? And I'm like, yeah, that's the reason why I lost it. He says, okay, write up a letter talking about that. Go get the tax, statements to show that you had a drop in income. He says that will be the excuse on why your house went into foreclosure. Then we have to come up with all these other things. You got to come up with more money. You got to come up with all kinds of proof and documents and all this other stuff. And you got to do that here in the next 10 minutes, So all the documentation stuff wasn't a problem because I was working on my credit at that point. Like I had built up my credit with credit cards and stuff. And so I had all my debts taken care of. I had decent credit, like 800 credit score, stuff like that. But I didn't have I had like half of the down payment, right? Like I was prepared to give them 20 grand for this house, for a down payment. And he was just like, nope, you got to come up with a little bit more than double that. And I was like, I don't have it. I mean, I got some money around. I'm gonna I can go start reaching into the stashed holes and stuff, but I can't come up with double this. Are you kidding me? So I started diving in, and I started scrounging and looking and pulling from every place that I could. And it was it was the viewers that did it. Um, because I have the PayPal account that allow people to tip, tip the uneducated economist. Having that PayPal link up there, and for the years leading up to it, I never touched it. I never took any money out of it ever. So anytime anybody ever dropped any money into that, I saved it. And over the years and years and years that I had it, and because a lot of people would tip me when I wasn't making money on YouTube. They would be like, "Hey man, I know you're not, there's no ad revenue or whatever. Here's $10." Some people would send me 100. I had another guy, it's like, "Thanks for the lumber information. I made a bunch of money on the trade." He would send me $100. I had some people like send me some pretty generous donations, and so I had it up to about $5,000 in that PayPal account, which was exactly what I needed to come up with it, to come up with the down payment. After scrounging every corner, every bit of cash that I could find out of every pocket, every seat cushion, everything that I had, right? Literally had about, it was like $320, 300, little over $300 in my checking account when when we got the cashier's check for the down payment. It took everything out of me, like literally everything, emotionally, like financially, everything. Like I was done. I was just like, man, this house is so upsetting, in every way. It took all my money. It took everything from me. And I thought for sure, it was going to go underwater. That was the experience that I was having with it. And so every month it would go by and I'm like, okay, here we go. Interest rates are going to go up. What's going to happen? And it never occurred. All that fear that I had, all that stuff, it never happened. It just didn't do it. All right. If you're like me, you are waiting now. Stack cash. Stock market is going nuts, and 5% for doing nothing is like you're broke the matrix. Not really. 5% is really what, I mean, that would have been really, like, that would have even been low considering the 80s. Back in the early 80s, you can get all the way up to like, 10, 15% on a 10-year. So, yeah, I mean, 5%, that's still pretty low. All right. The housing market and car market not going down much. I remember, UE, that you did not want to buy a home and wanted to wait for the prices to drop like many of the doom and gloomers. I was surprised. Matt, you're right. Matt, you're absolutely right. I said that. I was waiting. I wanted to buy houses when they were cheap. I was going to have cash to do it. Like, I mean, I figured that I was going to be in a better position than what most people would have been in as far as being able to put money down on a house. I thought that I was going to be like in a much better position to take advantage of a downturn in the housing market. I was forced, like, I felt like I lost my opportunity when I bought the house. I was just like, fine. I don't get the opportunity for buying a cheap house. I don't get that. I, I don't know why like, it was completely inaccurate thinking. Completely wrong. All right. Are these Airbnb properties exploiting a loophole and avoid paying taxes? Companies like BlackRock are buying houses all over, but I know taxes have to hit at some point. I don't know. I don't know if there's loopholes inside of that stuff. So, I would imagine that somebody who's good at it could probably figure it out. All right, man, won't be long now until people start breaking into cars for their stereos. I doubt it. Car stereos aren't worth that much. I've been all in stocks last 2 years and plan to be indefinitely. I mean, I've been in stocks. I bought a bunch of them last year too. Love your show and all the fabulous info. Been in construction since 1973 and have seen many crashes. 73, 82, 93, 2008 cycles happen. Yeah. It really does. Um, but I think that, the cycles are different considering that, you're going to have debt cycles, business cycles, these things take place within it. But as far as like the bigger cycle of like the manufacturing base leaving the United States going to other places, I think that's not a cycle that returns. Not like in our lifetimes or anything like that. That's just a one-way direction. Either you're building up your manufacturing base or you're losing it, you know. Everything hinges on who wins the election. Nope. I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. I mean, there is nothing that I can find within anything from the FOMC, from anybody out there talking about how it is that they are going to be conducting monetary policy going into the future has anything to do with politics. I cannot find a single thing. Because I would tell you. Like I would be like, here, in this speech right here. I mean, I read the speeches word for word all the way through them. They don't talk about politics. You know? I mean, ever. It's just like, I mean, go and take a look at the members only videos. We break down speeches all the time. And they never talk politics in any of it. You know? I mean, I just don't like I can see where people want to incorporate the idea of it. Like, you know, like how can you say when they're doing all this stuff? Well, government action and monetary policy are two very different things. They're not the same. And in fact, the things that are going on within the economy, politics react to, right? They don't cause it. They don't cause that to happen. You cannot get a group of people together and say, "Hey, you know what? I got an idea. Let's set up a spot and make the people there be industrious." Right? You can't make people be industrious. People are industrious. They're industrious all on their own, right? They have ideas, they have inventions, they have businesses, they have services, they have skills. They figure that out. And if you're in an environment in which that doesn't exist, there's room to exist, right? So you have a place like America where all of a sudden all these people from all over the world all of a sudden showed up into a concentrated area where there's not a lot going on, and they all have their ideas from their homelands that they're now sharing with everybody else in a area that has plenty of room to grow because there's not a lot of it going on. Manufacturing takes off and people benefit big time from it, right? But you're not going to be able to create that cycle again because we already had it here. We ran through our manufacturing. The economy took advantage of the manufacturing, raised the standard of living, increased our reliance on luxuries from foreigners, and now we suffer the consequences from it. But it's not anything that was a political action that caused, because this guy describes it from hundreds of years ago and gives many examples of it throughout history. I mean, it's just like it's undeniable. It's not the political decisions that causes it. It's the industriousness of the people moving into luxuries, buying foreign production, and driving out the domestic manufacturers. It's all because of the way the new money comes into the system. And so long as you have new money coming into the system, you're going to continue to suffer the consequences of ever increasing amounts of inequality. You're going to have ever increasing amounts of foreign production coming in, ever increasing amounts of decreasing amounts of domestic manufacturing. And there's really nothing you can do about it, because if you try to reverse the effects of it by turning off the new money, everybody falls into poverty. So in order to alleviate the pain that people are experiencing, demanding that the government do something about it, the exact effort that they are demanding, which is to inject new money into the system, then enhances the economic forces that are out there that separates the rich from the poor. Their very effort of trying to help hurts. All right? And now understanding that the reasoning that the new money is coming in is not probably, is because of the political environment out there, doesn't change how the economic forces are reacting to that. All right? Now, again, it's not the economic forces reacting to that money. It's the money being poured into the economy that then causes the issues that are happening. They shouldn't be pouring new money into the system. We should have given up our gold. We should have fallen into misery and poverty and let that manufacturing base go to wherever cheaper place it was going to, and the powers of manufacturing and distribution would then be held in the hands of another foreign nation, and we wouldn't have that power anymore. We didn't want to relinquish that. So this is the unfortunate consequences that come from issuing out new money. Okay? Now, yeah, we can blame it on politicians, but are you going to blame that on a Republican or Democrat? Because they're all printing money. Okay? Are you going to blame it on one particular politician, or are you going to blame it on the politicians from 100 years ago who instituted the Federal Reserve? Okay? Are you going to blame it on the politicians who thought it was a good idea, or are you going to blame it on the situation that we had booms and bust cycles completely destroying this nation, and people like J.P. Morgan, the man, were tired of bailing the nation out? Right? Why? Because of the economic forces that were at play. Now, again, right, these politicians could not interact and do the things that they were doing if it wasn't for the rise in the industriousness of the people first. Right? You give them the ability to throw power around, and then they will. What time is it? Man, it's getting late. Pretty close. Can't take out money to lower inflation. Can't they take out money to lower inflation? Clips? No, they can't, because right now the Federal Reserve has been in quantitative tightening for months, and it still has an inflationary scenario happening. So they're taking out money now. They're in quantitative tightening, which is balance sheet reduction, right? That's pulling the money out. There's still fear of inflation. See, the money printer doesn't cause the inflation. It's hard, I know, right? Politics isn't in charge of economics, right? They react to it. And the money printer doesn't cause inflation, right? Because if it did, quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, and 4 would have produced the hyperinflation scenario that I was expecting it to do. It didn't do it. In fact, it didn't even create an inflationary scenario that met the Fed's target of 2%. They failed. They failed to even achieve 2%. So all this money printing couldn't possibly cause inflation, right? I mean, or else it would have caused inflation back in, after the Great Financial Crisis, from the Great Financial Crisis up until 2020. So for 12 years, all that money printing did not do anything to create an inflationary scenario here in the United States. Now, it's best to understand why that was the case, right? The recent time that we've had inflation was due to two things, right? One, sure, the money printer. You want to leave it at that? So be it. Wasn't it, right? That would have caused a flash in the pan, would have caused maybe some elevated prices for a short time, but then it would have quickly dissolved out and would have went right back to normal. The problem that we had faced was a severing of the supply chain. That was the important key indicator or key difference that really caused the inflationary scenario, was the severing of the supply chain. Now we have to understand what causes inflation to begin with. What is inflation? Is inflation the expansion of money and credit? Yeah. What's the results of that? Price increases. So price increases isn't inflation, right? That's the symptoms of inflation. That's the results of inflation. Inflation is the expansion of money and credit. Set that aside. Price moving up is the symptom of that. So now we have to understand that when we see prices moving up, is that just the expansion of money that's taking place out there? Could be. Or it could be money velocity. Maybe everybody's spending their money faster. So now all of a sudden consumption is ramping up because people are spending their money and they're not holding on to it. Instead of saving it in the mattress or in a bank account or something, they're actually out there spending it. Increase consumption. When you increase consumption, you lower supply. Supply-demand imbalances creates price inflation. Right? See, it's easier to understand it in this fashion because now you can understand it why it is that the quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, and 4 failed to produce the inflationary scenarios, because that money never chased the goods and services out there. It wasn't handed out to anybody. They had access to all the stuff that they had ever wanted. There was no severing of the supply chain. Now, when you sever the supply chain and you say, don't go to work, don't produce, don't distribute, don't put anything on the shelves, here's a bunch of money, go clear them shelves out. Now the shelves are cleared out, and what happens to supply-demand imbalances? right? Demand goes way up, supply goes way down. What happens to prices? See, supply and demand created the price inflation. It wasn't money printing, it was supply demand imbalances. Now, how did that happen? Sure, a bunch of people all of a sudden were taken from a supply that was being severed at the same time, given the demand through the money printing. Okay? So, sure, you could say that the money printer did it, but that would have been a short, quick flash in the pan, would have had experienced something very similar to the quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Failure to produce a 2% inflation target for the 10 years. But if you sever the supply chain, well, now you can create an inflationary scenario, and if you keep it severed, you can keep it going for a long time. Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense to anybody why they would want to create an inflationary scenario until you realize that their monetary policy absolutely desperately needed an inflationary scenario in order to gain their monetary policy back. The neutral interest rate was too low, and it was too low because of the extremely low inflation expectation that drove the yields down on all interest rates, including that of the neutral interest rate, which is the rate that is neither accommodating nor restricting the economy. And because of this low neutral interest rate, the Federal Reserve would drop interest rates down to the lower bound of zero and still fail to produce a stimulating effect. Interest rate adjustments wasn't working anymore. See, very much like the interest rate hiking was supposed to destroy the housing market, interest rate drops didn't produce the inflationary scenario. It can't, right? It's not far enough below the neutral interest rate to stimulate the economy. The only way you can create an inflationary scenario is to tell everybody, don't go to work, don't manufacture, don't distribute, right? And then when you have a supply-demand imbalance, you'll find the inflationary scenario you're looking for. Hope that's true, Will, but you have a fancy highlighted name so well. Will Christian, he got focused on thought and the chat moves faster than Simon can read. Yeah. My family's 65 years old, construction, roofing company, just filed for bankruptcy unexpectedly. Oh, man, that sucks. Fire on the Grom. So I don't mean to be like insulting or anything like that, but I am truly curious, right, on the reasonings behind this. Because if we think about it for just a minute, why did your family file for bankruptcy? Is it because the business or the family has taken out too many debts and now there's not enough work to service those debts? I mean, I'm just kind of questioning about that, because that would seem like a reasonable expectation for filing for bankruptcy, is that I just can no longer make my business payments here, right? You know, we gotta call it quits. So I think about that from like my own personal self, right? Like I don't buy a car because I don't want the payment, right? If I had the payment and I lost my job, I'd have to continue to make the payment, or I would lose my car, right? I would start losing my assets or lose something else out there. So understanding that, like, again, it also comes from the scarcity mindset, right? Because if I had the abundance mindset, I'd be driving a really nice Camaro right now. But I think about that. It was just like, so when business is going good, and the only reason why I'm bringing this up, I'm not trying to pick on you by any means. Fire on the ground. I'm not this is a similar story that I hear, and I'm even hearing right now from guys in businesses that I know, like contractors that I know. They're saying something very similar. Like, they aren't necessarily filing for bankruptcy, but they're talking about how things aren't great and how, like, well, okay, accounts at the store, like, you know, business accounts, I can see how much they owe. I can see when they last paid, and I can see that number grows bigger and that date goes farther out. Okay, and so again, it's a telling sign. Now, that's not necessarily information that I can just come out and share with you guys. Like, I can't detail the numbers on that, and I'm probably not even supposed to talk about that anyway. But that's what's occurring, right? And I can see that. And so I know that there's other contractors out there in the United States, everywhere else, that are going to be facing some of those same pressures and those issues. All right. So now again, I have to ask, like, was it the extra vans, the tools, like, what was it that created the situation in which that you can no longer use your company to create a profit? Like, what circumstances had it finally tipped over? Like, our debts are just finally exceeding, our profits, or, I just can't find it. No, I don't have any debts, not at all. It's not that. It's just like my business in the area is just not having enough to, sustain the regular bills that I have for my house and stuff, right? There's all kinds of reasonings that go into it, but I would be curious on to find is that how many contractors or how many construction businesses end up going out of business because of the expansion that they had done during the good times. Like, hey, we got to expand. People are got all this demand for us to build. We need more equipment. We need more people. We need more trucks. We need more stuff. And then you get all this stuff, get it all hired out there. You need to borrow money to do that. Man, operations going great. We're making some money, able to make our debt payments. Everything's rolling good. And then the jobs start slowly stop trickling in as easy. Right? Next thing you know, the bills are starting to pile up. So, it is. Like I remember watching a guy who would not expand his business even when it was like just pumping. He had this business for a very long time, right? And he would not hire more people even though like it was demanded that he do. Like, it was just like, man, you can't service all the customers that you have, but he would not hire because he didn't want to fire or lay anybody off. So he wouldn't hire them, right? He wouldn't expand his business. He would only take, like, he is like, hey, we can only operate as much as we can, right? And that's the way he would go about it. And then, on the downside of it, he wouldn't stress it out so much. It was like, hey, it's slow. That's okay. We'll get through it. But he wouldn't expand or take his efforts beyond anything, within reason, I guess is, the point being behind it. All right. We should probably call it quits. What time is it? We're 8 o'clock in the evening here on the... God, I can't even talk, on the Pacific Coast. And I think a 2-hour live stream is more than enough for everybody. All right, my friend's software contracting company is fighting to make payroll, and they wish they can break even this year. Yeah. I won't hire people. I just do what I can. I've just come to think this is all pre-planned, maybe more control of everyone and everything in the upcoming future. Well, I think there's a lot of control taking place. I mean, I think that part is out there, but I mean, I think when a lot of people think of control, they think of that separation between the rich and the poor as being the controlled part, right? Not realizing that's the natural consequences of bringing new money in the system. So if control is bringing new money in, then yeah, right? But that's pretty much what everybody begs for, especially if you're down at the lower end of income. You ultimately, like, I mean, I don't know about you, but ultimately, this is the crowd that begs the government to do the most, right? Do something to help me out, right? This life sucks. I need a house. I need a better paying job. I need insurance. I need whatever, right? They're the ones who ask for the most, and because they ask for it, you have to print up new money. And by printing up new money, it separates them from the rich, which they complain about. So again, it's just like, what are you going to do? If you want to narrow the gap, you have to work harder, pay off debts, do it for generations, enjoy no luxuries, right? Only buy necessities, reinvest everything right back into production, right? This is what would have to happen in order to narrow the gap. So is that would be control, right? We can trying to control. You could like force the people. It's like, no, you can't operate that much business. You have to do this kind of job. You have to do, right? Very communistic Soviet style thing, right? In order to control the inequality gap, which you're not going to stop, right? Like, even that isn't going to stop the inequality gap, right? But it might make it seem like it's fair. I don't know if that's right. That doesn't seem right either. But that's what would have to happen. So understanding that this is natural consequences and that the government is acting and reacting to these natural consequences of the economic forces that are at play, and that we should have really lost our global worldly power to some other better manufacturing outfit out there. We didn't allow that to take place, and the world accepted that, which again wasn't the politicians' choice, right? They were like, hey, you can either take gold or take dollars. And they were like, hell, we'll take dollars, whatever. You know, and they're like, they accepted it. Like, they didn't have to. The world could say, nah, piss on you. We don't want the dollars. It's too late. Right? They're trying to say that now, but it's too late. There's nothing else out there that can replace it. And so even if you wanted to get out of the dollar, you might as well just be saying, I don't want to do business. Right? Because there isn't enough of any other currency out there to handle the amount of transactions that the globe wants to do. Alrighty, guys, I've babbled on long enough and I'm starting to slur my words a little bit here, so I must be really tired. So we're going to call it quits. I'm just going to read the last few comments here and we'll call it good. Thanks for your knowledge. Have a great night, UE. Thank you, Kevin, for being here, man. I really appreciate the comment. Your channel got me start preparing for the worst to be comfortable. I've been investing and saving more than ever, just in time for an unfortunate loss. I appreciate you, UE. Well, thank you, Fire on the Grom, man. I really appreciate it. See, this is what I love. Like, you can tell that a lot of people on this channel, I mean, I'm talking a lot of people, don't necessarily agree with a lot of stuff that I'm saying. Like, they're like, dude, like, some of the stuff is way out there, bro. Like, I can't do it. I get it, man. I know I come up with some really far off stuff sometimes, but it's the point that it gets you thinking about it, right? It gets the conversation going. And in a lot of times, those theories and stuff that I have, they're founded, right? They're not just off the wall, just kind of some loony idea that I come up with. I mean, I have backing for it. I have, I've got founding for these ideas, for these theories and stuff. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to jive with everybody's other beliefs and thoughts and ideas out there. It's not the point, though, right? The point is that we have the conversation about it. It opens up our ideas. It opens up the thoughts so that we can best position ourselves. And I thank you very much for the comment. Dylan found one. They take our dollars and buy their cars back. We get dollars left with nothing to buy. Yui literally saved my life. Love the stream. Well, thank you, Trade, man. I appreciate it. One of the things that I know, like these life, these life lessons, life coach stuff. Like, I'm not one to say, hey, man, I'll give you all the ideas that you need in order to live this really happy, cool existence with all kinds of abundance and awesomeness in your life. I'm not that dude, right? I'm the dude who's trying to figure that stuff out. And I'm really thinking I am, right? How I got here, I had to like go back and try and figure that stuff out. And when I started this channel, I was just going to talk about economics. I just wanted a place to talk about money. That was it. And when I started sharing more of my story and started sharing more about my personal life and some of the struggles that I was facing and stuff, I was amazed by how many people related to that information. And then to have as like, there's been a couple of guys who have come and I tell you, it hits pretty close, right? It hits really, really hard. But I've had a couple of guys who have come up and, who have popped up on the channel, and they'll fade in and out at times, but they've said it, it's just like, man, I quit drinking because of your videos, right? I saw how you gave it up, how it changed your life around, and I wanted to experience something similar for myself, and so I gave up drinking, and it's been, 3 months, it's been 6 months, or it's been a year, and that means so much more to me than just about anything. That was one of the side things that happened on this channel that was like so awesome, so unexpectedly awesome, and I know these guys, like, I don't always expect all of them to stay sober, right? But I know these guys are recognizing the difference in their life because of it, right? See, most of the time when you think about giving this stuff up, you're doing it because somebody else is like forcing you to do it, right? You know, you got family pressure, you got work pressure, you got all this other pressure. Doesn't matter. That's not going to be the reason why you give it up. Right? The reason why you give it up is because you truly wanted to, and it was time, and you knew that it was time. And sometimes it's just literally just hearing somebody else tell that story about how it is that they gave it up, or their struggles of what it took for them to finally, give up that last drink or whatever. A lot of times it's just hearing that story is all you need. And that's why I find that the rooms are so important. Like, people ask me all the time, man, how do I quit drinking? How do I do it? It's like, you got to go, like, the easiest way that I know of is to go to the rooms, right? You got to go to AA. And it is not, and the reason is, it's not because you need it to quit, right? Because I could quit without that, no problem, right? I mean, like, I could set that drink down and have the willpower to not do it. The problem that I was facing is that I was not prepared to deal with all the mental issues that was going to come from quitting drinking, right? And that's really where being in those rooms is going to help tremendously. It's because most people can't handle, and I have to thank my wife, because really I got a lot of residual off of her. She was very much involved. She went to 30 days in-house rehab, got out, hit a full force, like, took it in seriously, like, seriously. And because of that, I was able to get a lot of residual off of her. Right? So I didn't necessarily have to go to the meetings. Right? But I could understand a lot of what was happening to me because of her explanations and, and stuff that she was learning through AA. So I picked up a lot of residual from her. And I know I probably wouldn't have been able to stay sober if it wasn't for that. Right? So that's why, again, I encourage people, like, if you're trying to give it up and you're struggling and you're having hard times, you gotta hear somebody else. You gotta listen to somebody else tell their story, because then you'll be able to relate to it. Because you really feel like, a lot of times, and I know I did, you feel like you're on your own. Right? It's like I was almost to the point that, like, I felt like it was such a part of me that if I quit, people would make fun of me. Like, I thought that. Like, I had that thought, like, that's actually comical to think now. Like, that was actually something that had crossed my mind, that somebody would be making fun of me for quitting drinking. But that was a legitimate thing that I had run through my head. I don't even know, like, how I could have thought that now, because now I look at it and it's like, people was just like, the only thing they ever tell me is, man, what a great job, good for you, awesome, man, that is so cool. Like, I've never heard anybody go like, dude, you're such a loser. I mean, they kind of do, but not really. I mean, nobody ever says that. And so, anyway, that's probably one of the coolest things that I think I've gotten from this channel, was that experience. Because that's something I just was not expecting, is to have not just one, but have several people, come up and say, dude, it's what changed my life. It's what, got me to quit. And, so I thank you in these videos. Wow. Alrighty, guys, that was enough. I got bored when I'm sober, then it triggers me to drink. Yep, and that's exactly right, Larry. That's exactly right. Soon as I got bored, that was the whole point. Like, it's the trigger that your mind is telling you in order to get the alcohol into you, right? You got to figure out something to occupy your mind. And I'm not trying to, tell you on, because the day is going to be there that you'll figure it out. Like, you'll be there and you'll be like, I want the beer. This is what it feels like to want. This is what it feels like to be addicted. Like, I feel it. I want the beer. Like, and I'm not going to go get it because I want to know what it feels like to be in that, to feel the cloud, right? It's my cloud. This is my cloud that I am in. This is my addiction. This is mine. It's not anybody else's. And in fact, don't even mess with it. It's not even for you to mess with. This is my stuff, right? I get to feel it. This is what it feels like to be addicted. Yep. Africa and Australia gets to have those cool trucks. We can't have them. Yeah, what is it, like the cool Ford Ranger or something? And then they build like some badass, like, weed and beer and the actions it brought cost me so much. Life could have bought a house. The Toyota Helix. Oh, that's it. UE, have a great night. You too, Trey. Alrighty, guys, I'm gonna call it quits. That's beautiful, brother. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you all being here. I really appreciate my God, I always forgot. Mindful Maven for the wonderful, inspiring video that she had put out, talking about being a parent, which I think we all kind of relate to as a parent, and the feelings that we have. And I totally appreciate, her honesty, her authenticity by putting that video out there. It took a lot of courage to talk in such fashions, especially to YouTube out there. I mean, believe me, I know. I mean, it's a lot of people who are going to hear that and maybe give you some criticism you don't want to hear. But ultimately, I feel that that was a really important video. I mean, I really do. And I think, it's a question that should be talked about, amongst everybody, including the parents out there who have that same feeling, who might feel guilty for even feeling that feeling, and just know that it's probably fairly natural in that, a lot of us experience it. So, all right, guys. Uneducated economist, you let me know.